Hi, everyone. Welcome back. Hopefully everybody can hear me. I hope everyone enjoyed the film as much as I did. This is my second opportunity getting to watch it. We did get to watch it in preparation for this. And so I'm so excited to introduce Emma and Héctor as panelists for this second portion, our protagonists of the film. And I'm going to go ahead and get started with our first question. Emma, thank you for sharing your story with us. Can you share more about how your work with the Filipino Workers Center and the National Domestic Workers Alliance has changed your perspective on activism and uplifting not just your voice, but the voices of other underrepresented communities?
Hi everyone, I'm Emma, one of the worker leaders of Filipino Workers Center. Thank you for that question. And to answer it, as a caregiver, I experienced firsthand the struggle of immigrant domestic workers here in the United States. And we are most vulnerable to abuse and economic exploitation. I saw the inequality and lack of fairness in the workplace and how immigrants like me do not have equal access to common rights, benefits, services, and programs. And what's even more concerning is that most Filipinos don't recognize the injustice and inequality. Some just accept their current situation because of fear of losing their job or being deported. Being involved in Filipino Workers Center and the National Domestic Workers Alliance, it opened my eyes and I was able to understand that all of us have rights regardless of our gender, race, or immigration status. I was empowered to speak up, and I realized that sharing my story actually helps other people fight for their own rights as well. Thank you.
Thanks so much, Emma. I think that's really powerful and impactful. What about you, Héctor? What pushed you to become involved with Health for All? In the documentary, we see a really small aspect of the Health for All campaigning. Can you share more about what it's like, what it's taken to push the different bills forward in California? And what were some of your initial challenges and lessons learned in organizing as a community?
Gracias, Adeli. And hello, everyone. Thank you for joining us and coming back to check in and learn a little bit more about the work that's taking place. For me, joining the campaign has really been an alignment that has taken place both in my work and my personal life. I first started organizing around health in general when I graduated with my undergrad. And if you're undocumented or know the experience, there's a lot of uncertainty that does come in these different moments of transition because there is a lot of uncertainty. So we began creating spaces, circles that are really these group healing sessions where we tell our story for the purpose of really healing what we're going through, sharing skills and resources, and really building our resilience. At the time, I was working at the UCLA Labor Center, Dream Resource Center, and we developed the Healthy California Fellowship, which worked with fellows across California, and this was our way of really meeting this intersection of immigrant rights and health justice, which are really two of our most complex systems that we have here in the United States. And so it was actually the program was initially going to be led by a colleague, Nancy Mesa, and since I was already doing work around health, she shared it with me and suggested that I lead the work. And so I feel like I've been guided into this work of just moving into health and elevating health within social justice in general. Thinking about health, yes, institutionally for us to be able to gain access, but also in terms of our sustainability and social justice work. If you are in work where you are trying to create change and improve the lives of people that are commonly disregarded and treated as disposable, it is heartbreaking in many ways to witness and experience how cruel we can be within our humanity. But through Emma's beautiful comment and point of just refusing to normalize that and refusing to be able to accept that that's the way that things are, and really being proactive and working with other people in creating that change. So a lot of what we don't see in the film is just the immense amount of people that it has really taken for us to get to this point. I am very privileged in my story being able to be recognized in this way. And at the same time, as with any other immigrant rights work, mine is one of many where we want to be involved because we experience and know what it's like and want to be proactive. And at the same time, engage with partners that are open and willing to include us in the development of these movements.
Thank you, Héctor. And I think that touches on, right, the different aspects of these movements, right? That it's political, it's about our undocumented undocumented population, and it's about healthcare in general. So one of the things that we forgot to ask a little earlier was we wanted to administer one more poll and ask you all what drew you to this event. So if you could just take a moment while we move on to the next question to answer what drew you here. And we have a question in from Robert Thorn Sin. And he says, great job with the documentary. One thing I loved was hearing Emma speak Tagalog. I think it was, I can never differentiate with the dialects, and my relatives speak Visayan, and the representation that it brings. How did you go about representing the issues of Filipino Americans when they are quick to be neglected by mainstream media and their usual scope of the Asian American image?
Let me read that again. Hold on.
Yeah.
What was the question again? How do I?
Yeah, how did you go about, I think it's more about the film maybe. How did you go about representing the issues of Filipino Americans when they're quick to be neglected by mainstream media and their usual scope of Asian American image?
Yeah, because most of the Filipinos are undocumented and they're afraid to come out. So they don't care about what's happening. So as a caregiver and as a Filipino and being a member of the Pilipino Workers Center and being an advocate and being a worker leader, I can relate to them. So I agreed doing this documentary film so I can reach out to them and tell them that it's okay. It's okay to, to come out, and it's okay to be involved, because being involved and coming out, and they also hear a lot of success stories with Filipino Worker Centers. We are doing a lot of work there, like wage theft, and then human traffic victims. So there are a lot of success stories. So people are coming out now. They're not afraid anymore. So we're doing good. We're doing good, and it makes us proud to know that what we have accomplished has made a difference in hundreds, maybe thousands of domestic workers' lives.
Thank you, Emma.
So I'm also Bisaya. I speak Bisaya.
Okay, so he was right. Yeah, that's great. You're both involved with multiracial and multicultural movements. What are the strategies you've utilized or observed in building these bridges? I don't know if you want to take it first, Héctor.
Sure, and also to add to the previous question, I know Seth speaks to always being very intentional and including different languages with the film. And there was a lot of discussion around just being able to effectively coordinate the subtitles so that we're able to translate the film in Spanish Tagalog as well. And so those will be coming soon, just so we can also expand our reach and scope of community members that are able to hear these messages. And so I think that's part of our strategy, and why it's so important, again, to be able to work with artists that can support us in being able to frame our work in these different ways and be creative around how to be able to do it. So first, there's intention in recognizing that, yes, there's this gap that we need to be able to address around multiracial and multicultural just beings of who we are stepping into a space. So language and translation plays a large role in that, and also being able to create opportunities for us to be able to learn from each other. So beyond collectively working on a collective policy, a collective campaign, we also have to work on building relationships with each other. And that in itself is part of the movement work as well. Being able to understand and trust each other as we move forward in being able to create this change.
Emma, what about you?
For me, it would be to reach out, to be involved, and be visible. Because with this, we form or we build the best strategy, that is unity. Because in unity, there is number, and in number, there is strength, and in strength, there is power. So it starts with seeing beyond race or beyond color. We live in a country of immigrants. All of our voices are important. All of us are important. By remembering that though we have different backgrounds, we all share a piece in the immigrant story. I am able to build deeper connections to people, and although we have different stories to tell, all we want are the same. We want acceptance, respect, dignity, and changes in our society.
Thanks, Emma. You know, I think that, you know, one of the things that we thought was really interesting about the film is that you're both from different generations. How do you think that your generational status might be an advantage or play a role in your ability to be an effective activist? Whoever wants to take that one first.
Actually, it is great because we are able to reach a broader audience, and we are able to share our opinions based on our perspectives. People need to see themselves in us or someone close to their hearts that reminds them of me in order to fully embrace the cause that we are fighting for. When I speak, I don't just speak for myself, but I speak in behalf of the mothers, the grandmothers, the women, the people of color. The younger generation may not be able to fully relate to me, but when they see me and hear me, they remember their immigrant mothers, their older sister or aunt who had a certain illness or who has been a victim of a society, injustices of society.
Thank you for that, Emma. You do bring that every time I see you and get to spend time with you. You definitely do represent that in my heart. And, you know, just thinking about being able to have elders in a space, sometimes it's even, it can be difficult to have my own family members join a space. So definitely seeing Emma's warmth does bring that in, and that is much needed. Because movements are very much taking care of each other as well. Being able to be a part of each other's growth as we're creating these new world, this new system, and our elders play a role in being able to guide us in that, and our youth play a role in being able to have this uninhibited amount of imagination, which I also recognize undocumented people carry, and people that are oppressed and excluded from systems and spaces in general, being able to be creative when we are excluded, of how to be able to create and find ways to sustain our life and who we are in these different ways. And so like I mentioned in the film, there are mistakes that I know that I've made as a young organizer in being able to centralize a lot of youth campaigns. In my generation, it's really moving forward the National Dream Act campaign, when at the same time we were having conversations of also moving forward a comprehensive immigrant rights bill. And there was really a divide that took place. I remember amongst immigrant youth feeling that we should move in a certain direction. And so there's this historical division that we've had among these national conversations that we definitely need to revisit, because we're seeing similar patterns happen in immigrant rights policy in general. So being able to learn from our mistakes that we've made, know how to create something different. And like I mentioned, our youth playing a significant role within that, because this inhibition of institutions that I know I've also become a part of as I become older. And so being mindful of our limitations within whatever generation we exist is also important to recognize as we work with each other.
Yeah, definitely. And I remember those struggles, right? Like I had so many friends that were just on the cutoff of being eligible for DACA because of their age. And so so there's that, you know, that divide that was happening within the community and parts of our community that were being excluded. And I think this might, oh, we have one question that came in before I asked the last question. So we have a question in from Daniel Park, and he works at the Cross Cultural Center on our campus. Emma, I was really struck by the level of care and compassion you showed your patient despite your personal challenges. Hector, the documentary captured your infectious energy and sense of humor, and as many of us know, the ongoing fight for justice is long and oftentimes fatiguing. What keeps both of you going despite the various hurdles? And how do you both decompress and take care of yourselves in the process? So we can start with Hector.
You're so sweet, gracias. That was really kind of you to say. So for me, it's been this constant reassessment and commitment to movement. There is like I mentioned, a pattern of burnout that we have in our community, just in general, being undocumented and a part of these other intersections can lead to depression, anxiety, stress, and trauma. And that's just common at this point, considering the context that we're living in. And so for me, it's always a matter of checking in with myself and asking myself, do you want to keep this, continue doing this work? In what capacity? What does it look like for you? So for myself, it's this constant reflection of am I in the right place? Am I giving and serving in the best capacity, and at the same time caring for myself? And how is this work fulfilling as well? So I have a puppy that I play with. I have family and friends that I just call and love to just hear their voices and see their faces. Also a lot of self-care. I do a lot of work on just personal healing, and that I practice myself and also share with others. If you follow us, that'll be coming this summer. We'll be releasing a zine for immigrant people on how to navigate their mental and emotional wellness.
And Emma, what about you? What helps you express?
Yeah, for me, as long as there are people who believe in me, like in Pilipino Workers Center, we have these smaller groups, so what we call circles. And we have our own group of circles. These are members. So whenever there are any activities within Filipino Workers Center, we cascade it down to the circles. And when the members of the circle responded, and you know, when they believe in me, I feel empowered to do more. And one of the rewards is that when you advocate and you win, so it feels really good. And one of the things that we just did a couple of weeks ago is we do virtual advocacy. Like, this is the time of the year that we usually go to Sacramento to advocate for our rights. And because of this COVID thing, so what we were doing is talk to legislator and talk to assembly member via Zoom. And, you know, we all do all of these things via Zoom. And last week, it was heard by the California lawmakers, and we stayed in Zoom for 8 hours just so we would know what would be the result. And it was good because it passed. It passed there, and there's just one more step. It would go to the appropriation committee, and maybe when it passed also, it would become a law. This is healthcare for all. So this is for Cal OSHA, that the domestic workers who don't have access to healthcare would not be excluded anymore in this healthcare. So it feels good to advocate, and you know, when all of your hard works are being paid off. And to de-stress myself, I have I live alone here, and my family are back home in the Philippines. So I do a lot of FaceTiming with them, video chatting with them. I have 3 grandkids in the Philippines that who gives me a lot of joy whenever I see them, whenever I talk to them, and I talk to my mom. Although my mom has a hard time hearing, but she's trying her best. She's trying her best to be tech savvy. She's now using Messenger to communicate with us. And also I go out with friends, and we talk over the phone. We eat out, and I pamper myself with a manicure and pedicure and massage and everything, you know, to I know, and sometimes do shopping, and that's the thing that how I distress myself. Oh, self-care. That's my self-care.
I love it. I love it. We all love massages. So we have another question that came in from the audience from Miss Angela Chen, who's the director of our Dream Center here on UCI's campus. So she says, thank you, Seth, Héctor, and Emma. Thank you for your wisdom and storytelling. Emma, your story reminds me of my mom. She was also undocumented and worked as a caretaker. How has COVID changed the issues highlighted in the film? How can we push for more resources across the state for COVID relief?
With the COVID pandemic, it's so sad for the undocumented, because we are excluded in the government financial assistance, like the stimulus fund. And in California, we have this fund given by Governor Newsom, but it's on a first come first served basis. So it's difficult. Like you have to really take very good care of yourself. Like for me, I'm a caregiver, and for us, it's a no work, no pay. So I really take very good care of myself. I practice proper hygiene, and before I take the bus and the train and going to work and coming home from work. But these days, I don't do that anymore. I take mostly Uber or Lyft. So just to be on the safer side, and so that I don't pass it on to my client. So, and it's also sad that working for an agency, sometimes they don't provide us with the proper PPE, so we have to spend it, or we have to use our own money from our own pocket to be able to protect ourselves.
Wow. Okay. So I think, I want to wrap up the program. We're a little over time, but I want to kind of close out with one more question. So we want to thank you both for all of your work on the Health for All movement. What advice would you give our audience on how they can get involved to advocate for this campaign, especially given the current state, just like Angela mentioned? And one of the things that came in from the poll is that 78% of our folks are interested in activism and advocacy. And so if you could just give us some parting words as to how we can get involved.
Support, engage, share, and donate. And people these days are more into social media, so we don't have to go far to send our messages across. Even with this pandemic ongoing, we can all help with advocacy by utilizing our social media platforms and our influence over our families and perspective over our families and friends or colleagues by simply sharing the links to our videos, like what we're doing now, and other content, sharing information about our movement. That is already a big step in creating change. So you never know, perhaps someone needs a little encouragement today, and our post could help them get through a bad day or even save a life. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Héctor, do you want to add anything?
Yes, thank you, Emma. I just pasted a few links here on the chat box. I have a link to register. There's actually something tangible that you can do tomorrow. The Health for All Seniors was not included in the May revise, the governor's budget. And so we still want to be able to recognize that that can still be included and push our representatives. There's actually car rallies that are taking place in San Francisco, Sacramento, and Los Angeles tomorrow at 10 a.m. If you're in those regions and can join us, there's a link. And if you identify what region you're in, they'll send you information and more instructions. Also, to be able to follow the hashtags Invest in Trans Lives and Free Them All. Invest in Trans Lives is a part of being able to develop the Trans Equity Fund, which would have specific funding for trans and TGI people here in California, which we've never done and want to be able to elevate the need for. Free Them All is the need to be able to release people within detention and prisons, especially under COVID-19, recognizing that it is a death sentence and we are need to be able to free them all. As a recommendation and suggestion, if you're interested in movement work, find your place and find your people. There are all levels of interest. If you're an artist interested in policy, community organizing, graphic design, education, there is a space for you in movement work and being able to create change. So finding what best fits you and also your people. Movement work is not a solo act. Remember, everything that you do in community. If it's not, you're doing it wrong. And so just always work together and take care of each other.
Thank you so much, Héctor and Emma. We really appreciate it. Thank you for making your stories public and for spending the evening with us to share your story directly with UCI. Now I want to go ahead and pass it on to my colleague Paulina, who will share some closing thoughts.
Well, one, I want to thank you both also for being here and just sharing your stories. I think I really want to echo. I think there was a quote actually that Héctor said in the documentary about how the conversation for wellness is not about policy; it's about tangible change. And I really, that really struck a chord with me, because I think it's not about just the policy changes, but also about like the movement changes, and it's about this idea of collectivism and really kind of bridging the gap between different communities. And that's the change that we want to see. And that's the change I think a lot of our communities of color who have been oppressed want to continue to see. And so again, echoing also Emma's words, donate, get involved, find ways that you can actually, get knowledgeable and just support communities, support movements that support our own communities are really important. So, so thank you both again for sharing your stories, for being here. Thank you, Adeli, for bringing this opportunity to us on campus, as well as Judy for organizing all of it. Seth, who had to step away, but I want to thank him as well. And then also Joey Leon, who is on the background for us, but definitely has been a huge support today. And so I'm going to also transfer it over to Judy for final words. But again, thank you so much, Judy, for bringing us all together.
Thank you so much, everybody. Emma, Hector. Seth had to leave because he had another commitment, but I was so moved by both of your stories and his filmmaking. Some of the scenes were just breathtaking and very emotional for me. My father recently passed away, and Emma, when you were caring for the elderly, I know that's the care that my mother was trying to provide for my father, and it's so important. That is essential work. That is essential labor that often does not get recognized fully. And Hector, I love your wisdom. I love your smile. I love how you're so patient in working with people, involving them, and giving them the opportunity and just an example of how you can create change. And I just want to thank Joey. He's a little camera shy, but last week was his first week at work, and then he jumped right in. And I so much appreciate his effort of working together to co-organize this program. And I love the responses as well. Maybe I'll just show them really quickly as to why people wanted to come to this event. And I think it shows the intersectional interests of people who are interested in healthcare, of activism, immigration issues, racial issues, transgender issues, even filmmaking. We'll have to get more people who are interested in filmmaking out there. But I think this is the type of community that we want to create and grow at UCI, and that we can also connect with all the incredible efforts that are happening off campus as well. So I did post, and thank you, Adeli. There's a post-screening survey. It's only a couple minutes, so we hope that you will take the time to complete it. Thank you again for joining us. It's been an incredible experience, and I'm so glad we did this together. Good night, everybody.
Thank you, everyone, for the opportunity.
Emma, you have a lot of fan mail, by the way. I don't know if you saw. People were talking about how cute you are and how inspirational you are.
Thank you,
Thank you.
Emma.
And I have one last word, like, I am a caregiver and yet I could not get my own care.
Yeah.
So healthcare for all.
We need to make some drastic changes in this country. And
Okay.
Thank you for taking the lead. And
Okay,
showing
thank you. Thank you again. Good night, everyone.
Good night.